Hello and welcome to another episode of Swim Sets by the Pool. This is the podcast where you get free swim workouts and tips on how to swim better from two professional triathletes. My name is Nathan Cohen. With me, as always, is the fastest swimmer in triathlon, Greg Harper.
Oh, yes. Self-proclaimed, but now maybe it's real.
Dude, it's
Uh
official. You let out of the water at 70.3 world champs, pretty much one of the most competitive swims in triathlon in the
12
year.
second gap with the wetsuit. Not bad.
Not bad.
Um yeah, but I'm doing well. We're just finishing up holiday season. We got a little
Mm-hmm.
holiday type set for you millennials and above. And the Gen Zer and Nate didn't really know what we were talking about when we talked about this
I
set.
did not know.
Um but yeah, how are you doing, Nate?
I'm doing good, man. I'm kind of stoked that it's January because in December I was just coming out of my off season. You know how it is. You're like kind of dragging a little. The sessions are kind of slow and pool times are hard to find. Like my local pool closes. This is the only downgrade for my local pool. 2 weeks over the holidays. They close for like cleaning or whatever, or maintenance. Well, the pool is super clean all year round, so maybe it like has some merit, but it makes it so hard to find a pool because I got to drive like to some other
Yeah.
town. I was like literally researching. This is how you know you're committed. You research on Google like all the pool closures, you put the times they're open, when you're gonna swim in training peaks and stuff. That's how you stick to it, you guys. You don't leave it to
Yeah,
chance.
the pools where I am in New York now shut. It's like in August. It's like right before school starts up again for New York. But I'm always like kind of peaking for some, not peaking, but like saying at least in the holidays, like maybe you can take a little time off, but maybe
Hmm.
you're building back too. And like there's holidays for swimmers. They like do doubles and stuff, and they swim long course. It's also a good time to like swim a lot, especially when the weather's bad. And you're like, oh, I don't want to ride my bike outside because it's cold and I don't want to do 5 hour trainer rides. So you're like swim a lot, but then yeah, the pool gets
Hmm.
closed.
And I
Sad.
live I live in Southern California, so it's like 70 degrees in January. And New Year's Eve, I was swimming in the pool, and it was a bunch of college swimmers just swimming super fast, and like a couple age group triathletes. They only swam for like 30 minutes. I just saw an Oceanside 70.3 backpack in the locker room when I was walking in, and then I immediately
Classic.
knew who the triathlete was because they had a heart rate strap on, they had their watch, they had their whoop on the other wrist. I was like, that's the triathlete right there.
Warm goggles.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. But yeah,
Well,
that's how it is.
yeah. Yeah, well, you're lucky you live in SoCal.
Yeah. It's
We
nice.
have a real winter in other places.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Anyway, so we're kind of talking about starting the new year. And like you
mhm.
said, you come out of December, New Year, everyone's like fresh. They're like, all right, I'm gonna tackle this year. They got goals or whatever. The quick tip for today is come up with a plan to improve your swim this year. Say, hey, I'm going to commit the 2 days to the squad or swimming masters. I'm going to have well-written workouts for my other 2 or 3 swims that I do and kind of make a plan of attack, how to get better in the swim. Don't just do the same old stuff, swimming medium all the time. Get some of our sets, change it up, get out of your comfort zone, and yeah, kind of make a plan of attack because people talk about periodization and things. In swimming, it's like for triathletes, just get some variety in there. And yeah, you really swim with some people, swim with some friends, and yeah, you might surprise yourself how fast you can get.
Yeah, swimming with friends is super important. Actually, just a couple days ago, I was about to go to the pool, and this guy, Dar Smith, texts me. He's one of my triathlon buddies. He's super good. I think he's like top five in the US right now. But he's like, "Hey, I'm in Ventura. You want to swim together?" And I was like, "Sure." So I picked him up. We went to the pool, and we were just gonna do like 32K, but then we were like talking about it, and then we ended up making the set longer and swam 4K together. And you know, when you're swimming with a buddy, you want to like get to the wall before them and stuff. And like Dar is a way better swimmer than me, but every time I'm like trying to get to the wall before him, you know. We've been racing each other since we were juniors, so we're just like competitive, you know. So it was
Yeah,
fun though. We ended
100%.
up swimming longer, didn't even feel like it, and it was good. It was just a good session just because I swam with a buddy. So yeah, lots of value in that.
Yeah, it's surprising how quickly it can go. Like 3K by yourself, if you're not like mentally like you're kind of dragging through it, you're like, wow, this takes a long time. And then do some 4K with a friend, you're like, that didn't feel like it took any time at all. And that's how
Exactly.
swimmers
Yeah.
swim. 40 to 100K a week. It's not by themselves. It's with
Hmm.
coaches and people and jokes and making
Yeah.
fun of each other and whatever it is. Like that's how you have fun. That's how you get better.
Hmm.
It's like exercising with friends is always good.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
Anyway, so the set, Nate didn't know the reference. This is a Walnut Creek Master set where I grew up, and we did this. I did this set like a couple weeks ago. It's like the F Happy Festivus set Festivus. It's like this made up holiday from Seinfeld. But Nate's never seen Seinfeld because he's like 6 years old. So um, yeah. Anyway, so it kind of just we kind of just go through. But yeah, 10-minute warm up to start. How do you feel about it, Nate? I mean, it's Masters. It's pretty standard, I'd say.
That's pretty standard. 10-minute warm up. I mean, if you feel like you need a little more, get to the pool a little early. Um, I mean, I was swimming with a buddy the other day and he texted me. He's like, "Oh, I'm looking for parking." Um, so I just told him, I'm like, "Dude, I'm gonna hop in the pool." So I got like 500 extra in and it felt good. And yeah,
Yeah.
so if you want extra, just do a little extra. If you need a warm up, you go back to any of our past sets. But yeah, just some general tips for it is just do some mixed strokes, do a little bit of kicking, do some drills, That's just it's just warm up. You're trying to feel good, get a feel for the water, all that stuff.
Yep. No, spot on. And you have to take some ownership in your warm up too, because you
Hmm.
get to a race or something. They're like, "Hey, you have 7 minutes," and you're like, "Okay," and then you try to warm. In triathlons
Hmm.
typically, at 70.3 Worlds, we had a 5 minute warm up from 6:41 to 6:46, and then we started the race at 7. So that
Dude.
was for the pros. That was 5 minute warm up. Age troopers, I don't think they got any warm up. So like you have to be adaptable. So I kind of like
Hmm.
sometimes giving like, hey, 5 minutes warm up. Try to be as ready as you can because these are situations you find yourself in. Even for professionals, like all of us wanted to warm up more. Like someone even asked in the pro meeting, they're like, "Hey, can we just like what are you doing from 6:38 to 6:41?" Like, I mean, they have a schedule. It's Ironman.
Hmm.
Like they know what they're doing, but still, it's like, yeah, it's kind of funny actually.
Wait, let me ask you this. How many swim meets in college did you just cold turkey your event?
Zero, never.
Zero? Okay,
No.
I swam at community college, so
Yeah,
I
you still
cold
have a
turkeyed
community
a
college,
lot
man.
of events.
That's different. I'm getting kicked off the motherfucking team if I did that.
Okay, for those of you who don't know
Uh,
what cold turkey is, it's just no warm up. You just show up on the blocks for your event and just go for it. So what I was thinking was this will be great prep for pro triathlon racing in the future when I don't have warm ups.
you had
That's
some
why I did it.
serious foresight.
Yeah, I
Um,
saw 2 years into the future when I was going to be a pro triathlete, and I was like, yeah, cold turkey this mile right now.
yeah, yeah, and yeah. I felt good in the 5 minutes in that little section at Worlds, and I started the race, felt fine. But yeah, it's not really enough. So, a lot of people doing bands and things like that. So whatever you need to do to feel ready is important. We were gonna do
Hmm.
a quick 1 minute recap, I guess,
Oh yeah, dude,
for the
let's talk
swim.
about it. Tell me about the 70.3 World Swim. How did it go? You just said you warmed up well.
Yeah, yeah. I'll just give a quick recap. So the swim, the first buoy was 300 meters out and there's a left-hand turn, and
Hmm.
they did a seeding of the first 10.
Hmm.
So I was assuming that everyone was going to go to the left, and all the guys, like all the 30, 40 rest of the guys were like hovering, like they were ready to like when they were saying, "Hey, the rest of you go," it was just a mad sprint to the line to try to get to the left side. But
Hmm.
I just fucking played it cool, man. I was in the back, like whatever. I just walked up to the line. Henry Schumann randomly went to the far right, which I thought was an interesting
He kind of
choice
does
by him.
that. He's just like, yeah.
Yeah, and to Henry's credit, I think old Henry Schumann he can do that type of stuff. I mean, it's kind of like maybe where I am now, like he was a few years ago, right?
Hmm.
Um, so he went to the far right, and there was a few people there, and on the far left was like Kyle Smith, Mark Dubrick, and stuff. And I was in the middle right, and I was like, there was empty boxes around me, so I
Hmm.
had a bunch of room. I was next to my buddy Ari Clow. Um, yeah, so got out super hard. Right away, I realized like on the right, I was expecting to see like Henry right there, and he was just like nowhere to be seen. I was like, oh, okay. And then to the left, I could just see kind of one guy. And I definitely had a little bit of a lead, I thought, and I was like, maybe 2 minutes in, I was like, okay, I'm definitely worked pretty hard. I'm gonna try
Hmm.
to, and they're going left, so they had the inside line. I was like, oh, I'll go over to him and get right on his feet as we go around the buoy, and then I'll sit and I'll make a move on the second. Little did I know, it's Josh Amberger on his feet. It
Hmm.
was Mark Dubrick who was leading, and
Yeah.
Josh, and I just tried to come in and just basically body Josh off Mark's
Yeah.
feet, and like as you do, I've never don't fight an Aussie in the water. Like Josh Amber, I've never fought with anyone so hard in my life. So I like kind of body him, like push him off Mark's feet. And it's like you don't use your hands, you just kind of swim, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But he just goes right back. We go around the buoy. We're literally on top of each other. I have to undo my goggles, like get water out of them 2 different times. And like I've been doing that my whole life, so I can just do it as I stroke. And like I'm
Hmm.
not really gonna lose anything. And after like a couple minutes of that, I was like, all right, I'm going to third position. Like, I'm just going to slot behind Josh because I didn't want to fight with him anymore. I was like, dude, this guy is not relinquishing. Like, I
Hmm.
mean, mad respect. He had kind of earned the spot, but usually people will just like. But anyway, I start drifting back to third, and then Leo Bergier goes around on the outside, and I was like, oh, perfect. I'll hop on his. I went over, hopped on his feet, and then he took the lead, and I was in second. Um,
Okay. Nice.
yeah, and then about halfway. I saw Leo, he looked back 3 times, like in a row. And I was
Hmm.
like, oh, okay, he wants someone to lead. So then I started going to the front and I was like, I might as well just surge. So pulled super hard to the left and
Hmm.
surged. Because in the end, it's like, actually, the Ironman commentator was like, oh, it looks like they're going off course a little bit because I watched it back and I was like, I did it on purpose because then they swim longer and they're gonna follow you, right? So my goal was to create separation, which I ended up doing, and then yeah, basically just kind of soloed to the end, and yeah, that's how it went down. But yeah,
Nice.
I talked to Josh Amberger a bit after the race, and I was like, dude, that was a battle. I never battled that hard in my life, and it was just one person too, so it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't mess with them Aussies in the water because Josh is like 5'8" too. Like he's not a big guy, but packed a punch. But yeah, that's how it went. It was a good time.
Dude, that's awesome. And I love if you guys haven't listened to some of our past episodes, it must have been like 8 episodes ago that Greg said he was going to be first out of the water at 70.3 Worlds before even the final start lists were out, before he even knew exactly who was going to be there. It didn't matter. He's like, I'm going to be there first out of the water. And he was. So, hey, you're listening to the podcast with the fastest swimmer in triathlon and then me as well. So, yeah, it's a good one.
Lucky for the fans.
Yeah, dude. Well, sweet. That was an awesome recap. Thanks for
Yeah,
telling us
yeah.
about that. That was sweet.
Um, yeah, it was a good time. New Zealand is such a great country and good people, and yeah,
Yeah,
Ironman knew how to put on a good race.
that's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, but anyway, so we kind of said get out of your comfort zone a little bit, like early in the
Hmm.
podcast, and this set that we're about to talk about is kind of like that. So it's a 10-minute warm up. The next thing is it's called airing of grievances. That's a thing of the Festivus. Like if you watch Seinfeld, you get it. But it's 25s, 16 25s, and you add one dolphin kick every time when you push off the wall. So on number one, I started with one. It says zero here, but
Hmm.
basically by number 16, you'd be doing 15 or 16 dolphin kicks underwater, and then
That's
the rest is just easy.
yeah. That would be uncomfortable for me. Very
Yeah. Well,
uncomfortable.
yeah, you just build it up by one. But
Hmm.
I think yeah, it was fun, and yeah, I think people will surprise themselves when you do it one by one. You're like, okay, it's one more than last time. Um, I think for people it's hard. A tip on this is like you got to push off kind of deep because some people kind of you can get stuck kind of at the surface and then you have a hard time. You can even do it on your back. Um, but yeah, I think it's a good skill to have. You should be able to do it at least. It doesn't have to be fast. It doesn't have to be anything. But probably get you 2/3 of the way. And
Yeah.
if you're a really good swimmer, you probably get the whole way. But that's more like professional.
Yeah. It's like Leon Marchand. He would get the
Yeah,
whole way.
yeah. You
No
probably do like
problem.
6 kicks.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, okay, I'm gonna go back actually on what I said for the warm up. I think you should do 2 sets of 425s, 3, 2, 1, 0 breath. before you
Mm.
do this. Just a little prep,
Yeah.
just a little mental, physical prep. And before that, you can do whatever you want. So yeah, I'm just gonna
Yeah,
add
I like
that.
that. Yeah, and then it goes into a 500 hypoxic pull. Um, it was kind of do whatever you want, but typically when we've done 500 hypoxic, it's a breath count by 100. So you do
Mm,
two breaths on the first lap, then all you want, then all you want, and then four. So that would be the breath count per lap on each 100. And then you descend. So then it's two, all you want, three, two, all you want, two, two, all you want, one. And the last
mm,
100 breath by 25 would be two, all you want, zero. Um,
mm.
that was a typical 500 hypoxic pull that we would do. Yeah, growing up something at this pool anyway.
Wow. That sounds fun. That would be a cool little 500. And that would make a 500 go by kind of quickly because you're always thinking about like, oh, which lap am I on? How many
Yeah,
breaths? Yeah.
no, it really does. And yeah, so the next thing is 1050's kick on FPSO. So
Hmm.
FPSO is fastest possible send off. And I was kind of thinking about it. I'm definitely going to do a little bit more kick this year and like
Mm,
specific kicking. I just think when you swim fast and sometimes you're in races, you kick a lot. So I think doing a little bit more kick work might benefit me. Maybe being able to get on the bike and push a little bit harder.
hmm.
But yeah, 1050s on a fast interval, like people just don't do this that much. And yeah, I think it's a good, like you said, get out of your comfort zone a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of weird with my swimming. Like when I'm swimming easy, I feel like I barely kick at all. And then if I'm swimming fast, I have like a pretty strong kick, but I don't have a lot of in between kick. So I'm trying to work on that is like more of those like in between paces, like how much am I kicking, like 4 beat, 6 beat, that kind of stuff. And yeah, at the start of last year, Eric and Paula, if you guys know who they are, TTL, they had like 100 all out kick
Oh yeah, I
challenge on
saw
their
this. Yeah,
Instagram.
yeah.
And I did it one day, like at the end of a friggin' 5K set or something. And I think I only went like 119 or something, or like 118. But I was like, man, that was like really tough. And yeah, so that definitely showed me that, yeah, I could work on my fast kicking.
Yeah. Well, actually, so Mark Dubrick, he's like you know, he's a great triathlete and he's a very good swimmer.
Hmm.
He can kick like a 124 or something. That's his best. So he's like really very slow at kicking compared to
Mm,
how fast he is at swimming. But most people can probably like in the TTL challenge, I think someone went like a minute. I mean, it was probably a pro, I'm not like an
yeah.
ex-college type swimmer.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I've seen guys in college kick under a minute long course. I mean, that's on
Hmm.
your back underwater, but still, I mean, that's some
Well,
serious.
that guy at the
Um,
Paralympics kicked a
oh yeah,
29-second
yeah,
50 with no
that's
arms.
right. Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, so I just think it's a good, and if you're a runner too, and you come from a running background, you might just need to kick more to loosen your ankles up a little bit. Because
Hmm.
like if you have that stiff ankle, it really does create a lot of drag in the back of your stroke. So you just want to be able to have a little bit looser ankles when you're swimming.
Hmm.
So I think doing a little bit more kick is beneficial for that. Now it doesn't have to be 1050's kick on your fastest possible send off all the time, but
Yeah.
just maybe do a 200 kick in your warm up and yeah, things like that.
Yeah. Okay. Next part of the set is feats of strength, whatever that means. I don't know if you're old, maybe you know. And it's 20 by 25, as much fly as possible. And then it has a little asterisk with a bonus. You could do 5 push-ups or 5 squats after each, which I've seen people do that. I feel like it's more of like a water polo or like a
Yeah.
swimmer type thing where you do a deck up, you get out of the pool, do some push-ups, do some squats. I think we did that a
Yeah.
couple times in
It's fun
college.
though. And
Yeah.
then you dive in, practice your dive. Like it's just, yeah, it's not like so specific or anything, but it's just like kind of good. And like we were all having a fun time doing
Hmm.
this. And like I was doing it with people, but yeah, I did them all fly and then I did push-ups and on one end and squats on the other. Um, yeah, I mean, it was tough for sure.
Yeah.
But practicing like a
People,
little bit of
yeah.
run dive in is also fun.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite things is like running dive in if your pool allows it. It's so fun. Like
Yeah, well,
I
no
just
pool
love it.
allows the run part, but you
I
should.
don't know. My pool is pretty chill with it, but I also am like kind of a nuisance at my pool, but they
Yeah,
like me,
yeah,
so they let me do whatever I want.
yeah. As long as they like trust you.
Yeah. Although I'll
Yeah,
tell you a funny story one time. So at my pool, Paula was swimming with Simon Whitfield. If you guys know who that is, he's the first ever Olympic champion for triathlon, and he also has a silver medal from another Olympics. But they dove in the same lane together, and one of the lifeguards, probably like some 17-year-old person, was like, you guys shouldn't dive in the lane next to each other. It's kind of dangerous." And like no idea who these people are. Like,
they're
and I just thought
like,
that was like
okay,
so funny.
yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it kind of depends on like the lifeguard and situation, but
yeah.
yeah, if they allow it to. And when you run into a water, say it's a mass start and you're running into a body of water, you're kind of doing a dive. Like if you're bad at diving, you're going to get behind on that and
Hmm.
you're not going to be as comfortable. So, like we said, getting out of your comfort zone, do some butterfly, do a little dive in the pool. Yeah, I just think this is generally kind of a fun workout and yeah, it's a good thing too with a couple buddies, I guess. And then yeah, just warm down after. That's it.
Hmm. 2 to 300 warm down, classic. This would actually be such a fun set to do with a buddy. Thomas, if you're listening to this, that's my swim buddy. We're gonna do the set together. It's gonna be
Nice.
awesome. Um, yeah, that's one of my goals or whatever, or resolutions, if you want to say it that way, for 2025 is have more swim buddies. Because last year I trained a lot on my own and it kind of sucked, not gonna lie. So this year I have a couple people who are like, yeah, I'll swim with you, Nate. That sounds fun. And it's just cool. It's just cool showing up to the pool, seeing your friends, doing a workout like this. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you can even do workouts on different intervals, but like you're there together still. Like, hey, I'm gonna do 75s IM, you're gonna do hundreds free, and we're gonna do the same, whatever it is. Like you don't have to do
Hmm.
exactly the same set and interval every time, especially if someone's a little faster than the other. So yeah, you can always be yeah, accommodating in that way.
Yeah, definitely. Well, sweet. We're gonna close out this episode with a hot take, and this is something I was thinking about today. I think a lot of people are doing their recovery swims totally wrong,
Hmm.
and just recovery workouts in general wrong. So what I mean by that is if if you're doing a recovery session and you're like, you know what, I feel pretty good today. I'm just gonna do a couple like sprints or whatever and stuff like that. That's not really like the point. The point of recovery is to get your body feeling good for actual hard work that you're gonna do later. You know, if you do a couple like sprints and stuff and you're like spiking your heart rate, but it's not like a lot of like quality work, you're not really doing the thing that you should be doing for recovery because I mean, from a triathlete perspective, I'm thinking about you're doing other sessions like running and biking and you're building up all this fatigue. And the swim can be a great tool to like loosen up from that. So like I did a long run this morning and I did a really easy swim where I just swam easy the whole time. I did mixed strokes, I did some kicking, and I felt better after the session than when I started. And that's kind of the point. And I've had coaches assign me recovery swims that are literally like 3100s, just do them on whatever interval. And I feel like
Yeah.
that isn't even a good way to do recovery because mentally you're just like, you're like looking up at the clock, you're like, how many do I have left? And then you're trying to keep track. And like mental recovery is also part of it. So I would recommend something better would be do some mixed strokes. Like if you're doing hundreds instead of doing 3100s, I mean, if you're about that, then and you're like, I love doing 3100s, then that's fine. If that's like actually mentally recovery for you, but if you're like a normal person, you could do like 100 back, 100 breast, 100 kick, 100 free, and like that'll help it go by like so much quicker and just like do sets of that. I even did like 100 IM in there. And if you can do that at like a heart rate that's a little bit lower, but you're still moving the body in like those different ways, I feel like that's like good recovery because you're still like recovery sessions is still training. Like you're still getting some aerobic benefit from that. And yeah, that's kind of the whole point, I don't know. That was a little bit off the cuff. I didn't think too hard about that, but I was just like kind of thinking about it in my
No,
swim
that
today.
that's all spot on. And yeah, the 2 to 3K, like I just call them floats.
Hmm.
Like that's I'll swim 5 or 6 times a week. That's like 2 sessions for me. Maybe one, maybe two,
Yeah.
but by feel too. And yeah, like if you do a Sunday long run, go to the pool in the afternoon and just swim
Yeah.
2K easy.
Hmm.
That's bread and butter. That's good stuff. Yeah, and
Yeah.
like you said, feeling better after than when you got in, then you know you did it right.
Yeah, exactly. And like another thing is too, it's easy as athletes to convince yourself like, oh, I had a hard session today. Like I could just sit on the couch for 6 hours. And like that's not good for you either. Like you know because there's so many studies out there of like people who work 9 to 5 desk jobs and like how bad that is for your health just sitting in a chair for eight
Yeah,
hours or like 7 hours. So just because you're an athlete and you did a hard session in the morning doesn't mean it's still not bad for you to sit on the couch or whatever for 6 or 7 hours. So yeah, that's also kind of the point of recovery is to kind of like get in there, get some blood flow and yeah, that kind of stuff.
100%.
Sweet. Well, thanks for listening to this episode, you guys. Yeah, follow me and Greg on Instagram, follow the podcast on Instagram. We got the links to that. And yeah, subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't. You'll get to see me and Greg's wonderful faces and the pools that we swim in. So yeah, it'll be great.
All
Okay,
right, cheers.
see you guys. Bye.
Later.